Winnie, thank you. So in 2005, you were the co-chair at Davos. The World Economic Forum invited you to co-chair. And that strikes me as quite symbolic and quite unusual both for Oxfam and for the World Economic Forum. Is that a sign that things are really changing in this direction? How was your message received there?
Well, when I first went to the World Economic Forum, I talked about rising economic inequality. And I was allowed into some side meetings, and I spoke, and there was some discomfort in some rooms. But 2 years later, they invited me to be co-chair. I got the sense that some business people, some CEOs, were seeing the signs that all was not well in their societies. But this year, I went again, and I really saw traumatized CEOs. I sat in rooms where top business people, top bankers were saying, business can't go on as usual. There's political anger. Populations are saying there's one rule for the rich and one for ordinary people, that ordinary people pay their fair share of taxes, rich people get away without paying, and they're demanding change, and we must deliver. So for the first time, I started to hear CEOs understanding that rising inequality needs solutions and that the solutions lie with them primarily, and governments too. But they were seeing that they need to do something, and they were talking about, do we need new incentives from our shareholders? Do we need to work to different metrics? Do we need new metrics for determining what success is in our businesses? It was a good conversation.
You must have been about 12 when Idi Amin came to power in Uganda. And I feel like our African colleagues understood the relationship between unchecked inequality and the rise of popular, charismatic leaders a long time before us in the global north understood that this economic inequality has huge political ramifications. So is there a sense to which actually post-Trump you really feel like this is the moment for change? How are you feeling? That it's going to be harder or easier in a post-Trump universe to bring about this kind of profound systemic change you're talking about?
Well, partly it's a déjà vu for me, because coming from Africa, where I grew up under dictatorship, people who come on popular to rescue the population through the gun or through rigged elections, promise heaven on earth and then deliver nothing. We've seen all this. But, sorry.
Teach us.
But more importantly, we have been at the short end of globalization, we people in the South. We have been crying out that the rules are not fair, that trade is not fair, that we will never emerge out of poverty in this kind of skewed global economic system. But our cries were often not listened to, because we are powerless in the global economic governance. But now, with middle classes in the rich countries also saying that, wait a moment, there's a party going on and we are not in it. There are people out there, a very rich few, who have it all, and we don't see how how our children will live even a life as we have lived. So people are uncomfortable, unhappy, and are voting and showing that they are disconnected with the political system. That is important for me from the South. It means that now we can stand on the same side and say that the rules are not fair of the economic model and that they need to be shaped so that we all gain, so that people have decent jobs, so that people who have worked can retire and have a good life, so that children go to school, clinics work, that this can't happen when a few people are capturing all the wealth.
I want us to go back now to the 17-year-old Winnie. As you mentioned in your opening remarks, you came to this country as a political refugee. I know your parents were very politically active under Idi Amin. Your father was jailed several times, and it was decided to send the young Winnie to her sister here in the UK. And you arrived, I believe, rather unprepared for the British weather. I read that your sister had to take you immediately into an Oxfam shop to get you a winter coat. Is it true?
It's true. I got my first coat from an Oxfam shop. It's very true.
So I went and visited. I'm a big fan of an Oxfam shop. So over many years, I've dropped off and picked up, I think, hundreds of things. So in honor of meeting you, I went to my local Oxfam shop. This is me in Chiswick. Of course, the first ever Oxfam shop is in Oxford. It's still here on Broad Street. And I asked for some help from Jemima, who was working in there that day, to help me pick out a little gift for you, just in kind of... in reflection of that first Oxfam shop trip you had. So Jemima and I, we chose you this. There's Jemima. She was absolutely thrilled to bits that I was going to be meeting you. So there's a necklace. I left the price tag on it because I felt like it's a sort of different economy with an Oxfam shop, and I thought you might have thought I was cheating, but you can see the label. But Winnie,
oh my God, I'm so touched.
And
you know, wow. You know, everything in an Oxfam shop is like 100% profit. Did you know that? Because it's volunteers. It's this ordinary British person who cares about justice in the world, who comes and gives hours of work in the shop and looks after things and does the till, and so
my mother was just such
profit.
a volunteer. When I was a toddler, my mother was just such a volunteer in a shop. Yeah. So you were here, you studied, you got degrees in mechanical and aeronautics engineering. You went back to Uganda. You were part of the transitional period after Idi Amin, bringing back democracy. You became an MP for a long time, and now you're back living here. You're living in Oxford. You've been here for 4 years. You're the first, woman Global South leader to be running Oxfam, or indeed any such one of those peer organisations. But you're taking that organisation home with you. I think it's really fascinating. So Oxfam are moving their global headquarters from Oxford, where it was founded, 75 years ago?
5 years ago.
Yeah. And you're moving the headquarters to Nairobi. Can you just speak to what that means for you and for Oxfam and for...
Thank you. The way you have put it is so funny. Yeah. That I came to England when I was 18 and now I'm taking this great British institution.
In your handbag, putting it in your handbag. And
no,
taking
it's not
it home.
quite like that. It's not quite like that. Oxfam was born here in Oxford. It was started by people who felt really angry at what was happening in the Second World War, that there were people starving in the areas controlled by Hitler, in Greece, in Belgium, in those areas behind the enemy line. And they had food here in England. And they wanted to send food to the starving people on the side controlled by Hitler. But Prime Minister Churchill said no, they couldn't, because he wanted an embargo that would force Hitler to surrender. And these intellectuals from Oxford said, no, but you cannot hold people hostage because you want to win the war. They must get food. So that was the beginning of humanitarianism. And they started right here in Oxford. So this organization started first as a humanitarian, reaching out to people in need and insisting on neutrality and independence, and secondly, as a campaigning organization challenging the policy of a great prime minister. That's the history of Oxfam. But then Oxfam has grown, and now there are 20 other Oxfams all over the world, including Oxfams in Canada, Oxfam Australia, Oxfam India, Oxfam Mexico. We are many Oxfams, 20 of us. And now we have a headquarters that still is here in Oxford, this rich, leafy suburb. And we do our work mainly in the developing countries where poverty is, 95 countries, mostly in the South. So we see that for our legitimacy, for our relevance, for our impact, we need to move the headquarters of this family of 20 Oxfams to the South and stand there in solidarity with those who live in poverty and fight with them, alongside them. So we are moving the headquarters, but Oxfam Great Britain, the first Oxfam, will remain here with its headquarters here in Oxford. So I'm taking the international, the glue that binds the 20 to Kenya. And Oxfam Great Britain, the mother of all the Oxfams, stays right here.
It's going to be a beautiful relationship.
Yeah.
Winnie, our time is up. I just wanted to say, when we were out the back and we heard the opening poem together, and you said how much you loved Maya Angelou too.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say that meeting you reminds me of one of my favorite of her quotes, when she said, "My mission in life is not just to survive, but to thrive,
That's right.
and to do some with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style." Winnie, thank you.
Thank you so much.